How do we do this?
I'm just waiting to see who the first person to talk was going to be.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Three Splinters podcast, number 180.
Very
Yeah, we're
good.
almost at 200.
Holy moly. I
How,
thought
let's
about
see.
that today when you sent the invite for us.
When, just out of curiosity, when will our 20th
200,
episode fall?
200th.
200?
20th. We're on 180. When's our 20th going to fall?
I felt like I was just in Back to the Future.
Just
Oh,
say,
right.
Siri, what's 20 weeks from now?
Good call. Hey, Siri.
That might be.
What is 20 weeks from now? She's not listening. What is 20 weeks from now? September 2nd.
Wow.
Okay.
Tuesday, September 2nd.
So
Kind
in
of interesting
September.
how our 200th episode will come out basically right before the meetup.
Well, that was all master planned.
I mean, that's exactly why
Yeah.
we did it that way.
Remember we sat down that meeting at Y2K and we were trying to figure out how we were going to shape this
Trying to do
century.
the math. And then
Yeah.
from now until then, we may just accidentally skip an episode or two a week.
Yeah.
And then we would just so happen to hit 200. Anyway, I've got something to talk about tonight.
Oh,
Well,
shoot.
it was given to us by one of our fine patrons, Mr. Matt Hickman, back in July of last year.
Oh,
So we are very
right on.
we are very good at being quick to answer these potential questions.
And if that was in July, this will add to that question, won't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We read
So-
the question.
We read the question.
We'll
we just
start the
didn't
question
finish it.
today, and we'll get back to it in July of this year. For those listening, if you don't know, in Discord, we do have a podcast show topics tab. Go there and put your show topics. So we have things to pull from that are actually what you guys want to listen to. But he says, why does the first 80% of a project take a month and the remaining 20% take 3 years? Or can I hire a finisher? So I guess that could honestly be two different topics, but they kind of go together. Because what's the last 20% of every project? The worst part ever.
It's my favorite part.
See, that's the weird thing to me.
I love finishing.
It is my
I love it.
It's the part that I just absolutely loathe, and by the time I get there, I'm like, yeah, no, I want to do something else. I really don't want to go to all the trouble.
Well, if I read that, is it finishing the project or is it putting finish on a project?
I think just finishing the status of the project. Like the
Okay,
last
finishing the
20%.
status because that happens to me all the time. I go, yep, this is good. I'll finish it when I have time. Next project. If it's for me, if it's
Yeah.
for a customer, I have to go all the way, of course.
Well, yeah,
But
I mean, yeah.
I love finishing. God,
well,
because I can
this
hide
just-
all my mistakes.
right, or accentuate them.
Sell them for more.
This just like resonated with me because of the project that I'm currently working on. You know, you look at in the pictures online, it looks like it's done. It's not done. I've still got little things that I need to do here and there. And guess what? Probably going to sit there for a while. Because here's the best example I can give. I had to remove baseboards when we pulled out that stuff just because the built-in and all that. Guess what still isn't on there? The baseboards. Guess what I've said I was going to do yesterday and today? I even have the piece in my shop ready to cut everything. Nope, didn't do it. It was like, it's fine. It can wait. It's
Okay.
For me, it's a mental thing. Like you get to that last part, and I understand like putting finish on a product or a project, regardless of what the finish is. That's when it's supposed to come alive, right? And that's when you can either completely ruin your project or make it a home run. But that process itself is already something I don't really love doing. And then sometimes I make it hard on myself because Here's another good example with baseboards. Let me ask you guys: if you're installing baseboards, will you paint the baseboards prior
Yes.
to installing them?
Yes. I
Sedge
paint. I
says yes.
prime.
Ronnie says no.
I prime and I put the first coat of paint.
Mine are usually already primed, the ones I install. It's rarely wood, but I'm gonna cut in afterwards anyway, after I do with a little perimeter caulk, so I don't do any more than the having them primed.
So you would paint them in place while they're already on the floor?
Yes.
Well, I'm glad that you said that because guess what is still not painted in my house that I put in a year ago?
The baseboards.
The baseboards. Yep. Because I look at that now and I'm like, and I've done it both ways. That my mindset behind it is I'm going to paint it. If I paint it and then I go through and I nail it, I have to go back and fill the holes. And depending on what you use to fill the holes, then you got to go back and touch
Yep.
it up. So I'm like,
But
why
that's
not
your
just
second? That's your second coat.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do it that way too.
I'm going to do
I
one
do.
coat
I
on
do.
mine.
Prime, first coat, install, fill, caulk, final paint. It just
I love
saves
it
so
when you
much
say
time
caulk.
because there's a lot of. There's just so much time. There's so many times it has to have two coats for it to look good.
Hmm.
So why not save it and it can lay flat on the first coat? And I usually use emerald. In my house, I use emerald Dover white. Yeah, which
I
is a
like that idea. I
Sherwin-Williams
never really
product.
thought about that before.
Mhm.
One coat, install, go back over and do your second coat, and it takes care of the. But it's just, oh God, like that whole thing just irritates me. My stairs, the landing and the stairs, guess what? That still doesn't have on the walls, baseboards.
So you took a long time. You had all that floor in it. You took a long time to put that baseboard in,
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
and
you
then
remember?
and
I
you
had no
just said
baseboards at all for the longest time.
you just said forget it, nail it. And I was really impressed. And
The
I'm gonna tell you, who knows that? I know they're primed, but who knows they're not painted?
Yeah, like nobody else but us comes in and goes, your baseboards don't look finished.
Exactly.
You go, especially if you go through and like clean them every once in a while. You know what I mean? Where they look like they're nice
And
and
it
white and they
catches.
don't have dust and dirt.
Try putting
and-
put some polyurethane on them, and they'll have a little bit of shine on that primer.
yeah. Yep. That's a good point. Satin. Put some satin poly.
It,
There you go.
how
They're
many times?
distressed.
How many times have you gone into somebody's house and you look at it and it's just primed? They don't know to paint it. They just prime it and they don't even caulk it in sometimes.
Yeah.
We have a rental house that we did everything just like show ready, like you're going to sell it. And I put the crown up and I caulked it. And we started, this people came in and they saw it and they loved the house and everything. I was like, I'm going to have to paint that. I'm going to paint that before whatever. I completely forgot. They lived in it for like 2 years. We go back in it. I look up and I'm like, I never painted that crown. But guess what? They
Yeah.
didn't care. They were primed white and they look fine. You know, they
Yes.
look fine. But when you paint them, they look so much better.
Yeah.
I learned from two guys up in Burlington, Scott and Todd, and they go, "Hey, if you can finish something laying flat, horizontal, it lays down so much better." When these guys lay down prime, it looked completely like it had three coats. These guys were really good painters, but they said, "Yeah, do that. Put your first coat on, and then the rest is gravy, all trim." And these guys were good because sometimes they just painted trim and brought it to the job site, ready to install. One coat, then it was one coat of prime, one coat of regular paint, and then the rest was done in place. They go, it makes it takes so much effort out of it.
You know, I think the way that I'm looking at it is I'm always usually doing remodeling work. I'm not doing new construction. So a lot of times I'm taking I'm taking pre-primed casing like baseboard and matching up with existing. And the plan is after that's all done, then everything gets painted at the same time. So that you could still say, well, you could still pre-paint your trim that you're putting down, but it's my mind. I'm thinking I'm getting all of it the same first, and then I'm going through and painting it. It just helps my brain to not get it out twice, especially if I was just putting, say, like 8 pieces of base around a room. But after I was done, I was going to be painting all the casing, all the window trim, everything. it just makes my brain feel better to say I'm just going to paint it all after.
I
Not
got
to say
I
it's
got
faster, but it does help my brain.
I got one for you. When you put it, when you're doing raised panel cope and stick doors, do you finish the raised panel first?
I've learned you have to.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, finishing the panel prior to assembly is always a good idea.
Yeah, if you don't,
Yep.
you get left with the line.
Yeah,
Yep. And
especially
that's why
on
you
a
have
panel like that.
well, if you have space balls is not to knock out the rattle. It's
Hmm.
to keep it centered from what? That
Expansion, extraction.
expansion.
Right.
But that expansion, it'll keep it centered, but you'll still see that line
Hmm.
when it contracts.
That's
So
why.
it is always best to finish that raised panel before assembly.
That's why I apply my Rubio with a water gun.
That's right.
Get it in those cracks.
Just
Do you real? No, you don't.
Super soaker.
yeah,
No, you don't.
Rubio Super Soaker.
It would work.
But when I saw this question, and it was funny because I sent it to you guys and Ronnie immediately. It was like so true, right?
Yeah.
But I think about so many things in my house right now, actually, that like are not complete. You see the window behind me? Remember when I had that whole issue? This room
Oh
is
yeah,
done. Guess what? I still haven't trimmed out the
the
window.
casing.
But to be fair, there's kind of a reason why I haven't yet. Because
Oh,
it's
okay.
happened a couple of times.
Water.
I've gotten water in the window.
Have you really?
That storm the other night, the real bad one,
Yeah.
there's been 2 instances so far where water has come in. And we can come back to this topic. But there's one very distinct thing that happens both times that was very noticeable, but it's coming in around the top. So I'm like, well, until I figure out what that problem is,
Oh,
it's not coming, it's coming in the window, right? It's not like coming through the foam insulation. It's
Uh,
not coming through the drywall. It's like actually coming through a crack in the window. But I don't want
is
to
it
case it
windy?
and then have it do it.
Is it windy when this is happening?
Yeah,
yeah.
it's when the water is beating the front of the house directly. And
Yep.
it has to be incredibly heavy rains. Something somewhere is backing up and then it's letting loose because I can hear it.
Hmm.
Both times it's happened since we replaced this window. First time Nicole was like, she's like, "What is that noise?" I'm like, "Honey, it's just water running. Like it's on the exterior of the house and it's touching the window." Next thing I know, I look over and there's water coming in like a straight steady stream for
Oh,
like 5 seconds. And then it
Yeah, that,
stopped. But it pooled up somewhere and it some channel in the window itself or something was not allowing it to filter out the way that it needed to and it came straight through. It's happened twice.
it, it's weird. Water will find a way. I always say that. I had my roof uh, done this last fall, summer and fall, and it was weird because I had a situation where I had a leak in my uh, garage. It's above the lumber rack. You know where it is, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And when I had it all replaced, I was like, okay, when you pull it all up, I want that flash. I had a guy up there reflashing those fake dormers that I have up top there. And when they peeled everything off, they go, "We're gonna have to put a couple pieces of OSB because you were right. It was migrating higher up,
mhm.
and the water found its way underneath the flashing. So it was just, and there was a lot of stuff that was poorly done because it was the original roofing. But I always say water finds a way. If you see a leak, you got to fix it somehow, but
Yep.
you got to find it, and it
Yep.
migrates.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's one of the beauties of my deck ceiling
yeah.
projects.
What do you mean?
People always know if there's a leak anywhere underneath the deck.
Oh,
So
yeah, I
we
see what
always
you're
have to
saying.
address anything if we don't account
Oh,
for it. There's 1,000 different things that we don't account for it. They will see water, whether it's against the brick in a miter, overflow, downspout can't handle the water. There's there's so many different levels, and if you miss one step, they're going to call.
Have you gotten a lot of calls for that?
Well, I've been doing it now for 16 years. So
So not nearly as much now.
the first 2 or 3 years, I questioned my life decisions, but
Hmm.
But you learned, right?
but I did learn. When you go back and do your own service calls, you learn what to do and what not to do, and you learn about how much slope it needs. You even have to look at the deck above. Is it partially covered? How big are the cracks between the deck boards? All of that matters. It all makes a difference. Square footage.
It's and that's funny because that's everything in life, but it's also everything you do. Because if you don't do it for a while in the shop, and as you're building something, you go, "Oh shoot,
Mm.
I know better than that."
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'll give myself a little leniency here. You forget sometimes, and you go, "Oh Jesus, I haven't done that in what 10 years, and I know better than that."
Hmm.
When
Hmm.
you're building something, we all do it, but you know what? We're human.
Yep.
Yeah,
Experience
but
does play a part. I think the
yeah,
more experience you have, the easier that is to foresee things. But you know
I
what, for
read.
me, that
Yeah,
finishing thing, and I used to think it was just me, but I think it's not so unique, is I'm a big like visual person that I just want to see it. Like say I'm going to do a big built-in at our house, and I want to see it. If I get to the point of where I can see it, like Jason was saying, the baseboard's on, but maybe it's not painted, it's just primed. But if I get to that point where I can see what it looks like and it's functional, it's really hard for me to get in there and finish, you know, like, oh, I've got to paint these little things or whatever. I'm okay with just being like, squint your eyes a little bit and it looks done.
So, Ronnie, I was thinking when I saw this, I was thinking of you and Kelly. How long did it take you to put the handles on?
Oh gosh. I mean, a year? It was a
Yeah,
year at
we talked
least.
about that and how long did it
Yeah.
take you to
Yes,
do it?
yes.
Like
And I
an
was kind of
hour?
like, and then I had, Madison was like, don't put handles on it, you'll ruin it. And afterward, I'm like, okay, just give me an excuse. Like, we won't do handles. But the more we functionally, it needed them because they were inset doors. The only reason why we
Yeah.
didn't do it is we weren't really using them. She had like photo albums in there. It's not like you access those every day. But I think that's always been an issue since I can remember starting in my first house. Once I could do enough that you could visualize it, I have trouble sticking with it. It's like I almost want to
Uh,
move on to something else. And I
that's how
say
my
almost,
bar. That's
I
how my
think
bar
I've
in the
gotten
basement
better
is.
about it each year. But when I was 21, it was terrible. I mean, I would skip from room to room. I'd be like, okay, that's going to be expensive to buy that. I'm just going to go and start doing drywall in this other room. And I would just skip around all over the place. I was just playing, you know. But when it's for a client, that's one of the things that takes kind of the fun out of it because you do have to stay late. Like if you know you're installing it the next day, you do have to work over the weekend to make sure that you do your finishing steps. And the fun goes away very, very quickly when you're in that situation. You completely lose the fun in doing it. That's the only reason why I actually enjoy finishing, but I don't like finishing when I'm on a time schedule. It's stressful.
Yeah, I mean, it's already stressful as it is. And then, yeah, you put time behind it. Like, then you might take shortcuts and that's when you can really screw stuff up. You know what I mean? Because to me, like, that's where I run into things. Because again, I'm like you, I want to visually see it and then I just want to be done with it. Like, I love it. It's good. So, let's say I'm painting it. Okay, so I'm going to tape everything off and I'm gonna put that first coat of paint on and I'm going to like what's the dry time? What's the recoat time? And I might be like 30 minutes early because I just want to get it done, pull that stuff off the floor, walk away from it, and then go back and look at it. But then I don't know. I'm almost at the point when he mentions, is it okay to hire, a finisher? Whether he was talking about like joking and saying, I'll finish 80% of the job and let somebody else do the last 20%, or we got 80% of the way and then we're going to pay to have somebody else finish it. I think that's 100% okay. And I actually wanted to ask Sedge, when you owned the cabinet shop, did you guys do finishing in house or did you
Yes,
outsource it?
we did it in house, and we were approached by about 4 or 5 different companies. Hey, who does your finishing? We'll finish it for you. And it was hard. That was hard for Mikey and I to do because you would and a company down the way, Procraft, did it. They would build everything. The finisher would come and pick everything up and deliver it to the house, finished.
Wow.
Okay. but it was expensive.
I'm
Mhm.
sure.
It was very expensive, but think about it. You didn't have all of that, and they delivered it to the house, so you didn't have to store it.
That's good. What did you
And you
do
could
when?
start building. You could start building your next project. That's why there's there's pros and cons to it,
Mhm.
but you gotta understand the cost of it. And did you build that in? And you have to build it into your quote and know, oh, this is what this company's going to do. And that happens down in Fort Lauderdale all the time. There's a lot of people who don't finish, and when I say finish, put the finish on it.
Mhm.
And a lot of companies now, they design and they build it, then they ship it to a finisher, and then they have installation crews, and a lot of those guys are
Right.
subs.
Yeah.
And that's difficult because they can.
They can
Mess up
screw up the
things.
project real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to hold back my
Yeah.
vernacular, but
Yeah, they can.
they could screw it up in a royal. And guess what? You're back to square one because you got to rebuild it, send it back to. It's just a huge time suck process because those finishers got to fit that in.
Mhm.
I can just hear the guys now calling, going, "You didn't give us enough filler strips."
Oh, so it
And you're like, have to go and repaint a whole nother strip.
So no, I didn't use a finishing company, but yes, as we were growing, we were considering a lot more things or options. The one thing I did ever want to do is have somebody install
Yeah. Because
because
it's
I
got to
get
meet your expectations, and that could be really hard to find.
it's scribing.
Well,
It's
that's also
that's a whole craftsmanship in its own
Mhm.
it would
is
also
how to make it work in the space.
it would really bother me too to go through the trouble of making cabinets and not be able to see them installed on site.
Hmm.
That's kind of what you do it for. You want to see the end result, and that way, unless you go to the house and get the payment and see it, but still, it's not the same thing. I feel like if you're making the cabinets, for me, I did it because I want to see them go in. And installing is almost like the fun part, to go in. I don't think I would want to give that to somebody else. Just go in there and, you know, basically do one of the easier parts.
And
And
there's
what about
go
the
ahead.
molding? How did you all do the crown? Did
I
you?
was majority of the time it was already it was a crown cap. It was
Okay,
already
that's
worked in.
did you? Well, when you did have to make a nail hole, what did you do on site? Would you just fill it with like a little, like a
Wax stick.
wax stick thing, and just because it was in a place that really wasn't
and
conspicuous anyway, right?
and we had Mohawk
Okay,
lacquer, spray lacquer satin.
okay, okay.
And
Yeah,
then
cool.
you would let it dry
Fast.
and just scuff it in, blend
Yeah,
it in.
with a little steel
Really
wool or something.
Yep.
Yeah,
Steel
match the
wool,
sheen.
burlap
Interesting.
bag, or a little piece of burlap, or if you just
What was the
little
point of the
paper.
satin lacquer to neutralize the wax look?
Seal it.
To seal it and also match the lacquer that
Sheen.
we had sprayed on it, the sheen.
Ah, okay. So it was already
And then we
lacquered.
would spray
You
it,
were
and then to blend it, sometimes even a paper bag.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like always keep gloss lacquer in my van because I can make it any sheen. So whenever I put something on, I do repair, then I'll take like steel wool or something to kind of knock that sheen down until it gets to the matches the surrounding surface. And I like gloss because it doesn't have flattening agents in it. Flat and
That
satin have these flattening agents that if you don't have it mixed up good enough, you can have some weird things happen, some cloudiness and
Yeah. Have you ever seen that fast cap wax? I have it now. It's a big yellow thing, and they got. I think that back then it had two versions from fast cap, and had all the colors of wax that you
I
needed, and you could
I
blend it
have
in.
them all.
Mohawk has it. Everybody has
Yeah, I
it.
like the Mohawk sticks. Those are cool.
Yeah.
I have the Mohawk and the fast cap ones. And I have to say I haven't used the fast caps. I don't know if I've ever used them. I ordered them because I like the idea of them, but I
Hmm.
still go for the Mohawks because I'm used to those.
Yeah.
This comes back to we've talked about tools before. When you're not used to a product or a tool, you don't want to use it on a project. But I'm sure the fast cap ones are great. They go with me everywhere I go in my van. Maybe I should
Yeah.
try them sometime.
Okay, so I gotta tell you, you just said tools. I gotta tell you, I just got a new tool.
What'd you get?
Okay, so Stevie, thank you. I went down to visit Steve Idarola and Mark Adams yesterday, And he goes, Sedge, I don't want you to say anything, but here. He opened up he just picked up two Gershner tool tills, and he had one with him, and he handed me the type mark, the one we used
Oh yeah.
and he got me one. Son of a gun.
Oh, cool.
Did he really?
So, okay. So, Stevie, I know you listen to this. You're probably listening to this because you're driving home Friday night. I'm going to tell you something. I used it in your shop. Okay. And I've had several wheel marking gauges like this before. Okay. I call them cutting gauges because it creates a perfect knife line. So I got home last night. Yeah, today's okay. Last night. And I did a quick line around a piece of walnut. Holy crap. That micro adjust is sweet, but that wheel cuts oh my God. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's about quality, right? And Type Mark is the one that pretty much, I don't want to say invented this, but they have the micro adjust. And you guys saw me Googling over at Steve's shop in Mass when we were there. That thing is the schnapp. It's so awesome. So I got a new tool in the shop. Woo!
Awesome.
I've got one of those, and I actually used it on this kitchen project.
Awesome.
Just think, like,
What
what
you
would
do?
I
What you do?
possibly use it?
Which okay, hang on. Bless you.
Thank you.
You applied edge banding with it.
Nope.
Okay. Hang on. You didn't use it for any drawers. I know that.
I did. Yeah.
For what?
Okay, so it was the absolute perfect thing to use for what I needed it for. On the Linea box drawers, when you're putting the either false front on the 2-piece or the back on the 4-piece version, you have to place these plastic clips in a very precise location. Well, the center line of this, where the screws go for those clips, is 6.5 millimeters from the edge.
Schnikey.
So I initially grabbed my Pellini and set it to 6.5, and I'm like, this is going to be a pain in the butt because the backs are only like 100 millimeters tall or 82 millimeters tall. I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And I said, you know what? I'm going to grab my Type Mark. And I set it using the Pellini that I already had set to 6.5. And I just took it on the end and went, made my lines, and then measured down from the top wherever I needed my first screw hole to go. And I just poked it with a pencil to give me my mark. And it worked perfectly.
Can you do that swipe sound again? That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome. You do it, Ronnie.
Oh, wow. That was really weak.
That was weak.
It was really weak.
I can't do it when I'm laughing.
Marianne's going to go, how was the podcast? It was awesome. We were making swipe sounds.
Yeah. Swipe sounds.
You know what? The project that I'm probably getting ready to begin, Nicole's been beating me up about it. She's like, well, what's your next project? And I was like, well, I kind of really wanted to do something that I can make like plans for and like get content out of, like doing the miter saw station. But I know that I'm going to be planning that for a while. So she really wants me to work on the basement in the gym. So that's a project that I can't go 80% and then have 20 to finish. Because it's like you basically have to you got to get everything finished to get everything back in.
You sound really excited.
I mean, I am and I'm not. Like, I've been like burned out lately. I'm in like kind of like a funk, or I have been. And the reason why I'm kind of excited to do that is because one, I mean, I could film it if I wanted to and just make like that would be an easy project to film and just make a video or whatever. Probably get way more views just because it's more open to a larger audience. But it's not cabinets. You know what I mean? Like building a miter saw station is doing what? Building cabinets.
Yep.
Installing them, leveling them, putting in drawers.
Yep.
So I'll probably work on that. But that's going to have to be like I start and I finish. It's 100% ready to go. You know what I mean? Because to do it, I've got to move all of her stuff. So she's going to have a temporary gym, which means I got to be a lot faster in that project because then don't want her to get angry. You know what I mean? Don't make Nicole angry.
To go back to our original thing, my thought process on not finishing something is it's good enough. I'll get back to it someday, and you get distracted, and then all of a sudden you go, "Oh man!" It's like, okay, everybody thinks my bar downstairs done. No, I still have to do backsplash, and through the course of the last 12 years, I'm going to pull the lower bar out and use domino connectors instead of those lame ass dog bones I used before. But I got to rebuild some of it. But I waited too long, and now I'm like, do I really want to do a backsplash? Do I?
Yeah.
And then I get distracted again, and I put it off. I put it off.
You know what you
all
ought to
about-
try for the backsplash
What?
down there? It'd be a real quick, like do it in a day. I keep seeing everybody posting about it, and obviously it's not like the best solution, but there's that adhesive backed backsplash that you can do. I think that would be a fantastic addition down there, and it would be super easy and fast to do. I'll even come
I've
help you.
used that before, and it is impressively like if you use a decent brand of it, it goes on really fast.
Yeah.
Like I did a glass tile version of one that was just
Really?
peel it and stick, and it turned out really nice.
They have one where it's like you have like a laminate sheet of adhesive paper or whatever, and you put it on there as your backsplash, and then you just take the tiles and it grouts just like anything else would. You put it on, you use the spacers, it's incredibly strong, and then you just do the grout over the top of that. You could literally do it in like a few hours probably.
Yeah.
The whole, the front of the bar with those
The
I did
stones?
in one day. Stones I did in one morning. That was
Yeah.
pathetically easy. Yeah. Interesting. But once again, that's great. But it's not a priority, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what you could do? You could probably get it for free. Reach out to one of those brands and say you'll do a video about it. That'd probably be a video that actually gets a lot of traction.
A lot of views.
Absolutely.
True.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Sometimes
Save
it's the
yourself some
content.
coin.
The content can make you sometimes do something.
I just dread
Yeah.
pulling all that maple lower bar. It's huge. I had a tough time getting it down there, and I got to take it apart, bring it up, and then I got to remortise it with the domino, bring it down and reinstall it because it moved. Those dog bone things. If you don't epoxy them together, it'll move on you. They weaken over time. Those dog bone knockdown connectors.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
Where you have to like
Yeah.
drill the pocket and it
Yeah.
has like the half moon shape. Yeah.
Yeah.
How long are dominoes good for? You say like what, 3 or 4 years?
Okay. Parallel universe since I got back. Jason, did you hear I was awake 32 hours trying to get back here?
No, I didn't hear that story.
Well, you text me from the Detroit airport, said,
Right.
hey, is everything okay? I was stuck in Detroit.
Yeah, you were stuck.
And,
You did say that.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it on the podcast because I get upset talking about it.
Oh, okay.
It was a mess. I was awake for 32 hours.
That's awful.
And I had to spend an extra $450
Oh,
on
nice.
absolutely nothing.
Mm.
So, other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
Yeah. Too soon.
That's my sister's favorite line. She was really upset at work once, and she was just venting with one of her friends who was an engineer. And he was going, and she went, what? And he goes, other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln? And she goes, I lost it. What a great line. Oh, man.
Should we get into what we've been up to?
Yeah.
I don't think we have any new
Hey,
patrons.
I got a quick one. God, is this the first? I was talking to somebody. Oh, Travis. He goes, yeah, you guys the three of you haven't been together for a while. How long's it been?
JLC for the three of us? God.
Yeah.
we all missed a week, so it was 4 weeks ago. Because then I missed. Jason
All
missed.
together on the podcast, you
Sedge.
mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
when's the
I
last
think
time
it
the
was.
three of
Was
us
it?
were
Oh, I thought you
together?
were just talking about in person.
No, last time the three of us were together.
Yeah, so last week it was you guys. The week before that, it was me and you. And the week before that,
All three missed. We all missed 3 in a row.
oh, we did, yeah,
Yeah,
because of the schedule.
yeah.
Yes.
So I think
Yep.
it was 4 weeks ago we were.
Holy
Yeah.
crap!
I didn't even
Yeah.
think
Well, it's
about
good
that.
to see. It's good to see all you guys.
Sedge, I haven't
Hey.
seen you in person since JLC. That's weird.
And I have a lot of catching up because I have a lot of questions. Hey, but that's off the podcast. But did you guys talk about JLC at all?
No.
Oh, no, we didn't. You want to recap that a little bit? We were waiting, and then I couldn't be
Yes.
on the next episode when you were back.
Yeah. Last week we touched on it for a brief, and I said we'll probably talk about it more this next week when
That's right.
Jason's on here, which is now.
Okay. Everybody who's listening that I spoke to or I met at JLC. Wow. Thank you for all the accolades that we got for the Three Splinters podcast. There's a lot of people who came up and said, God, I love your podcast. And I love what you all do. And it was pretty impressive. The other thing I want to mention is we didn't have the Conturo in the booth. So 20 times people came up to me and I'd yell across the booth, "Hey, Jason, guess what this guy wants to talk about?"
Yep.
And I know you were a little disappointed they didn't have it there.
I mean, I was especially. I mean, I was a little disappointed leading into it, just because you know how much I enjoy doing that. But literally, the doors opened. 1 minute after the doors opened, a guy walked right up to the booth and said, "You're demoing the Conturo, right? I came here to see the demo. I watched your video." Because in the video, I mentioned that I demo it at JLC.
Do you really need the tool though to demo it? Couldn't you?
I could have
Aren't
just
you
pulled
good-
out my phone, been like, "Here you go."
Aren't you good enough that you could just hold it in the right places and just go, okay?
You know what I should have done? I should have made a cardboard mock-up like Sedge does with all of his projects and just holding it, and it just says Conturo on it.
You have somebody stand to the side with edge banding, shooting it out the side, like
Yeah.
pushing it through. Yeah.
I had such a good time at all the dinners. The night I stayed at the Hotel Providence, and my buddy Lee Jacopetti from Grex stayed there, and we had breakfast almost every morning together. And the last day, I was saying, "Hey Lee, I was over at the Grex booth, and I said, "Hey Lee, I'm gonna go get everything set up after we had breakfast." By the way, breakfast was a coffee and from Donkey and a bagel. And it was really cool. He goes, "Said, you know what the best part about this show is?" I go, "What?" He goes, "Hanging out with you." And you know what? That meant a lot to me. I didn't realize I have known Lee for 18 years. He is a really good friend. So we had a great time on Wednesday night, and then we had the meetup on Thursday night, and then we had a smaller
Yeah.
group on Friday night. And I'm going to tell you what, that to me, that was the best part of JLC, and all the people that came into the booth and said thank you. So I want to say, I know a lot of you are listening. I want to say thank you because it meant a lot. And so I'm going to ask Jason a question. Do you think the show is busy?
Compared to previous years, I think Friday until about 1:30 p.m. it was crazy. Then it really started to die out. And then Saturday, I felt like it was pretty good from about 10 to 12. And then it kind of started to die off again.
Yeah, several people came up to me and said, because I was, excuse my language, balls to the wall the entire time. And sometimes I was just, when I say balls to the wall, I was just talking with people. And I know the booth was dead Saturday morning, but I was talking with a lot of people. And several people came up to me and said, "Yeah, it's busy over here, Sedge, but the rest of the show looks really slow.
Yeah.
And I heard that the attendance was off, but we were busy. It was that Friday was
Yeah, it was wild.
crazy busy,
Yeah.
crazy busy. And you know what? I learned how to do something this year because you know when you're talking to somebody, you guys know this, and you're having a great conversation with somebody, and you want to be in that conversation with the person, but you see people waiting to the side to talk to you. And you know what sucks is you see them in past years, they would walk away
Hmm.
and I wouldn't see them again. I expected them to come back and say hi and I could chat with them. So this year, this is what I learned. And I went, okay, I got to do that from that one. There was this lady who was very patient. She was with her friend and she started to walk away. I go, hey, please stick around. I'm going to finish up with this conversation and I want to chat with you. And she just stood there and went, thank you. And I finished up and it also allows that person you're talking to go, oh, he needs to talk to other people too. And you know what? I did that several times and I was like, okay, good. I don't want to miss out on talking with people, that I know
Mhm.
or I know are waiting to ask a question. You follow me on that?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Because I hate that when, yeah, you were too busy. Nah, I wasn't too busy. Just hang out and, and then, so there was also the one guy who kept saying I needed a power cord on the CSC 50, and he goes, "What's so special about this?" And I went through the whole thing. He goes, "Yeah, I don't get it." And I go, "Hey," I finally said to this guy, he was getting a little, not in my face, but a little like, and he was a little fuck. I mean, a little guy. Oh, sorry, and sorry, and I got to the point where I was getting a little not pissed, but this guy's just irritating me, you know? So I finally looked at him and I go, you know, I don't think this saw's for you. You obviously don't need it. And he kind of went, thank you. And I go, festival's not for everybody, and Ronnie, I talked about that last podcast, didn't I?
Yeah, well, because I said that's where we need to have shirts and stickers made that says maybe you're just not ready yet.
But you know what? I used to say that. I used to say, festival's not for you, but I stopped after a few years. And now this guy just wanted to fight. I don't know, but
I do
and then
not
but
think I do not think I've been to a show where we were in a festival booth, whether it's Hartville, whether it's JLC, um, even maybe like one of the Woodcraft festival ones, where I have not experienced somebody that made it an effort to come over there just to badmouth and talk about how they don't want it or need it. It has literally happened every single one.
oh, yeah, I guess that happens to me, but I kind of push back really quick and go, whatever,
Yeah, it's just weird when
But
it's like, why are you even over here?
yeah, I know. And by the way, we get that. I get that all the time with the comments, anyhow. On, you know what I get it on? I got one yesterday on my Ego mower that I did last year. And what was it? Oh, the guy said, because I was talking about repairing my lawnmower and going whether I should get it repaired for this amount or buy the newer one. And his comment was, "You have all those tools in the shop, and you don't want to repair your own lawnmower." And I was like, I commented back. I go, "It's out of my wheelhouse. I like to build things with my tools, not repair tools. It's out of my
Yeah.
wheelhouse." And I said, by the extensive lineup of videos on your website, maybe you should repair tools. He had a video of the Dixie Chicks on his channel.
Ooh, I need to find it.
Yeah.
It was three,
So,
two, one, 3, 2, 1
so
gamer.
so that was kind of my version of get bent, get sedge. But
Yeah. Get
people are just
sedged.
compelled. People are just compelled to complain and make a comment of something that they have no relevance on. It's just really weird. I
Yeah.
don't get it. Why comment on something and give advice where you have never done it before yourself? Follow?
Keyboard warriors, man.
Yeah, keyboard cowards are what they are.
But I mean, don't like even coming up to somebody at a show and making it an effort to like go to a Festool representative and then just be like, yeah, I would never buy this stuff. I could get the same. It happened this year when somebody came up to do it with the vacs or the dust extractors. I would never
Yeah.
buy that. I could get the same thing out of a fine or this or that. Or I'm just like, okay, go buy it then. I don't care. Like,
I,
just get away from me.
I would say some of those people are walking around with that thought that they're like, if I ever saw somebody from Festool, I'm going to tell them what I think. And it's their first opportunity that they ever see somebody that they, they're like,
Yeah.
here's my chance. You all suck.
Let
I'm done.
let let me ask you guys a question. Do you think trade shows are dead?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I think they need to continue evolving. And I think they are. They're evolving into a not just a trade show, but also there's other meetings that go on there in addition to that and other functions than just the show. I feel like the complexity needs to go up some for it to maintain its relevance because you can get so much now out of the internet and YouTube and things like that.
So this is something I was discussing with somebody there who's very well known. And I talked to him. We started talking about all the clinicians that have passed away from JLC and organizers. And in the last 2 years, several people have passed away. And for me, those were my friends. And it had a different vibe. They've replaced some people, but there was a different vibe there. I mean, there's still some great guys there doing the clinics, and Gary Striegler's there, Mike Slogan, Tom, just Gert, and everybody, But boy, there's a lot of people missing. One of the biggest things that really hurt was Jed Dixon, the staircase guy, the staring guy. He
Hmm.
passed away in November. And Andy passed away last year. Bill Robinson passed away last year. He was the window guy. And those guys were, oh. And then Gary Katz left. Gary's still doing okay out in Portland. He's still out there swinging at the fences, but he's no longer involved with JLC. And he's basically the guy who started that show,
Mm.
So there's still a lot of clinics going on, but it just, uh, I don't know. It's,
To me, the only real value and benefit that I see with trade shows is your ability to go and get your hands on something that you've wanted to see, even if you can't walk away and buy it, right? Because there's a lot of places, a lot of vendors that may not even sell it. It's just like they're there to make their product known. And where I think that's valuable is for brands like Felder, SCM, these large brands that make these massive machines that there aren't any showrooms really. Maybe there's like one or two in the United States, but Festool, I would argue, I mean, heck, Festool in general, like you guys don't go to trade shows anymore. Well, you can go to a Woodcraft or a Rockler or some other Festool dealer, Hartville, or you can go to your friend's shop and see the stuff. It's the bigger brands that are not as well known and that require a big footprint. So I understand the value for those brands to go to trade shows and but at the same time, I'm like, with as much money as it costs,
Hmm.
is it really worth it? And some of these brands, it is worth it because they're outfitting entire manufacturing lines with $3 million in tooling, and the show is the event where they can go and sit down with a representative. But again, those are those brands that I was just talking about. It's not, you know, the Leaf Guard company or the like some of these weird ones. It's just like where they have like one person sitting in a booth behind a fold out table with brochures.
So I'm really interested. I won't be going to AWFS,
Neither will I.
but because I was gonna see how dead that's gonna be now with all this offshore tariffs, and all these smaller companies that are selling, the 400 tables that are selling roller wheels for power feeders, and then the 400 places that are selling LEDs, and they're all offshore. They're the ones who are going to get slapped with the biggest tariffs. There's going to be so much stuff cut out of there because of that. Because
Probably.
everybody's got a conservative outlook now, going in with business to see how all this is going to flush out in the end.
Yeah.
And I'm
You know who we should
and
have on.
that has to do with European, that has to do with Asian, that has to do with South American and Canadian companies. There's going to be a huge pullback. I just feel it until we know that the trade agreements are struck.
Right, right, right. Which, a lot of that stuff could change. But you know who I want to bring on the podcast as a guest?
Oh,
Because it kind of fits into this realm, is Matthew from Sedge.
oh, that would be awesome.
Not only because I would love for him to just share more about Sedge
Yep.
and in comparison to Bloom, but I think he would have a lot of really good, he listens to this, but I think he would have a lot of really interesting insight on the whole trade show side of things. Because
Oh,
Sedge, they go to freaking all the big shows. Bloom
oh,
does, all those companies.
they have a massive footprint.
hmm
Yeah,
But like, see, so
massive.
that's another really good example of a brand where I think it is valuable for them to go to that kind of stuff because business owners and business representatives are going to those looking for brands that maybe have an entire line of the things that they want. And if you can go into a Sedge or a Bloom or a Grass booth or whatever and see every single product that they basically carry and see its application and use case and an example, I see
and
it's
they
valuable because you can't do that
and
in
they
the
write a
store.
lot of business at the shows.
hmm
All those big companies write business, and it's not for a cabinet shop like I had. It's for the manufacturing arm of it,
Yeah.
and big companies because they want to see
I
what's new and what they can put into their designs.
I think that everybody just goes to the trade shows for the evening time.
There's definitely a part of the pie of that. I mean, I think that's what I mean. That mix has to be, that social part has to be on there too, because when people are weighing what they want to do with their time and their money, they got to think about all the things that they're getting themselves into. And I think that's a part of it that if they was just strictly going to a show, you could almost replace it with a lot of the YouTube and with the exception of hands-on stuff. I just think the trade shows need to be careful because they put themselves in the same category as print advertising. It's getting so expensive. You start thinking, do we really need to do this? Because it's so expensive. Do we really need to send this many employees and we need to buy this booth and send all this material over there and the hotel cost and all of that what's involved? I think it makes a lot of companies go, do we really need to do this?
Oh, for sure.
And that's
Absolutely.
what's hurting the kind of the trade shows about you're saying is a trade show dead because some companies are pulling out from the trade shows, which makes them not as good. And that makes less people come, which makes them, not as good. There's a lot of things that just keep dominoing off from that.
Yeah. The rise of social media influencing in general, any brand can look at that and go, where are dollars better spent? You know what I mean? You could have a way bigger impact on the amount of money that it would cost a large brand to go to one of those shows and everything that goes along with it. You could make a much larger impact if you
Yes.
did it right via social media for probably less than half of the cost of
Right.
a single trade show. And oh, by the way, it's with somebody that's relatable. And oh, by the way, it's something that's searchable and lives there forever.
Yeah. I would be
When
surprised if Bourbon Blade had more exposure and coverage than any product at AWFS or any tool show, a gun and knife show. The Bourbon Blade had millions of impressions. It's hard to even quantify how many people have shown and reposted and
I 100% agree with that.
yeah,
And that's a great
yeah,
example.
yeah. It's didn't need to go to the show,
What are
but
you going to say, Sedge?
I forget.
Oh,
short-term
Oh,
memory.
when we talk about social media and brands and taking money and putting it in there, it, for me, I think it's all about YouTube. That's where it lives forever. It doesn't live forever on
No,
Facebook or Instagram or anywhere
absolutely not.
else. It's YouTube. And if you really think about what some of these influencers charge for a video versus what I know as a brand that I work for during the day, and what people charge a brand for a video, they're getting one hell of a deal
Right.
Mhm.
on the amount of views that a brand video gets.
Here,
And when you say it's relatable, people see somebody using something and talking about something. Say it's me and I'm in my Festool shirt during the day. Oh, he gets paid by Festool. Of course, he's going to talk nice about it. Well, guess what? I used to use it before I worked for Festool, but I'm a different animal. People go, "Oh, Sedge, he's always going to talk good about Festool." Somebody asked, "Hey, if you ever left Festool, you can use other tools." I went, "Hell no."
yeah, of course not.
Festool is the best. And we
Unless they
talked
pay
about
you
it on
enough.
Ask Sedge this weekend on my Patreon account. That was phenomenal. And
He-
that's going really well. And but the thing is I got to be careful because I know I talk about one thing there and I'm talking about something here. I'm like, what did I talk about? But to get back to it, it's so much more. And Jason, you said it. I think this is what you meant, relatable. It's not somebody from the company.
Mhm.
It's somebody who uses it. And I really hate it when I know and I'm watching YouTube that person doesn't know their butt from a hole in the ground, but I know they're getting paid by that company.
Yeah, which happens a lot.
A lot.
It happens a lot.
And guess what I hate? 2 or 3 videos later, I go, I'll give that person another try. And they're not using brand M, then now they're using brand D and saying how great it is.
Right.
And do people see that?
You lose some authentic points for sure.
It's crazy. It's like, okay, it's like Bessie clamps. I've used Bessie clamps for over 30 years. You think I can use anything else? Absolutely not.
I totally agree. I had some free Jorgensen ones from the Workbench Con, and I don't want to throw them away, but I put them in a drawer because no camera. And I was like, we've never used those. I don't want it to be seen because I've always been Bessie.
Yeah.
It just doesn't
Here,
look right to have them up on the thing.
here's a great representation of like better spent dollars. A brand, let's say a brand that has a really large booth at AWFS, we use, or IWF. Let's use IWF. All of those are, done by the what are they called? Unions and everything. So everything is paid for. You could pay a YouTuber to do a video on a particular product, which will have way more reach and forever be visible, for far less than what you would pay just to have your company's signs and banners hung up
Yeah.
above your booth
Rigged. Absolutely. A lot
or-
less.
Or it
for
costs to
less
rent
than
carpet.
the carpet
Carpet,
for your
yeah.
booth.
Less than the carpet,
Yeah.
less than the electrical,
Electrical.
less than those stupid little tables that cost for 3 days $1,000 for a table and 600 each for the goddamn chairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the hotel bills and meal expenses for the people working the booth.
Yeah.
A brand could outfit my entire shop with their top of the line tools and pay me $50,000, and it would cost less than just getting their stuff from the truck to their booth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's called drayage. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And they would
it's
have
unbelievable, but it's
far
true.
more long-term visibility from it.
Yep.
And I think brands
So-
are starting to realize that for sure.
Okay. I was just going to tell you, and yes, they are, Jason. And people always ask us, why aren't you at that? I go, nope, sorry. We've redirected marketing dollars.
Mhm.
And now I'm actually talking to friends who are part of brands, and they going, yeah, we see that, and we're starting to understand it. Brands are starting to really see the power of social media, and I'm talking YouTube. I'm not talking Instagram. I'm not talking about, like 20 seconds of fame stuff. I'm talking about permanent videos on YouTube. And I'm such a fan of it. I do it myself. I know Both of you do YouTube, but that's where it's at, you know? Because guess what? It lives forever. How many people, Jason, you taught me this. I was doing something new on the original Festool Sedge, which is Sedge Tooltips. Now, I was doing that. And I was like, not struggling, but I was trying to do something new every time. You go, what are you talking about? Nobody goes back 3 weeks from, you
Yeah.
could do the same thing once a month. And I go, what? So I experimented, and what somebody said, oh, Sedge, that's the best tip you've ever done. And I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
It lives for what? A week, if that?
Two or three if it's amazing. If it's amazing, 2 or 3 weeks.
TikTok's even quicker,
Tops.
Yeah.
right? TikTok's even quicker.
Yeah.
And does anybody use Facebook anymore?
I have my Instagram reels set to just post to Facebook for me
You,
automatically.
Jason?
No, I don't.
I put
I
it
never
over
use it.
there.
I think
I
Steph cross
started
posts, but I never go to Facebook.
I started cross posting it after a year or so ago. When we went to we I think we all went to that class where they were talking about Facebook.
Yeah.
I
Brad
thought, well,
was.
it's crazy for me not to just post over there. So I started just letting them go over there
I
but
think
that's
I
about
might be
it.
doing that. I'm not sure.
I started growing really quick when I did that on Facebook. I didn't really care about growing over there, but I started thinking, well, they're part of Instagram. I probably should just play the game.
We did it. And I think we grew Facebook, but I wasn't really part of it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I have more reach on YouTube. It's because I can take my time and teach people something.
Yeah. It's definitely better. Do y'all hear
Let's
Tommy?
let's
Do you
let's
hear
get into
Tommy
what we've
coming
been
in
up
here?
to while we still have a little bit of time.
Tommy,
Um,
I want to see Tommy catch another fly, man.
He
That
just
was
came
like
in
the
here.
best.
So the microphone blocked him out just now when he just came in because he came in meowing like full volume.
didn't hear
Didn't
him.
hear him.
That's awesome. These mics are awesome.
I don't remember, Sedge, if on the episode you and I did, if we welcomed Steve Beckman.
I believe so.
Maybe we
Welcome,
did. It
Steve.
says he signed up 2 weeks ago, and I know last week I forgot to give you guys any names, but just in case we didn't, welcome, Steve,
Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome, Mr. Beckman.
or welcome again, Steve. But other than that, we don't have any newbies. Also, I wanted to mention, so the last 3 months worth of Festool swag goodies are still sitting on my desk. They are going out in the mail this week, rest assured. And that is Cale Magruder. I now have his address, Nathaniel, and Dave Embry. So your guys'
Oh,
stuff will go out.
don't forget Dave Embry. That's
Yeah, we can
coincidence.
just give it to him in September.
Yeah.
He just jumped on my lap. I just got speared.
Look at Tom. Tom, how you doing?
He just jumped from the table over here, landed on my leg with claws out.
Nice.
I'm glad I didn't scream like a little girl.
Nice.
Well, you guys been up to anything interesting?
Oh,
Any updates?
I have.
Let's hear it.
I have been moving things that I don't use very much to a new sub shop that I have in
You bought a sub shop?
no the
Like a Quiznos?
part of the inheritance of Kelly's is we have buildings.
Wow.
So it hit me last week that I was like, there's a lot of things I have at my shop that I don't use all the time that I would love to have kind of like a little bit less accessible. Like example is I have two 16-foot A-frame ladders. Whenever I need them, I need them. And I usually know like more than a week out when I need them. Extension ladders. I had like 9 different ladders I picked out that are just kind of I have to store. But I loaded my 18-foot trailer up and I took them over there and just it was really cool. Like I started realizing I can start putting some things I don't use all the time over there and not have them in my working space. So
Huh.
it's pretty cool. So I took my first trip, a full 18-foot trailer load, like loaded down.
All from stuff from your current shop?
Yes.
Well,
So
that
there's
Wow.
a lot
freed
of
up some space, huh?
it was amazing how much space it freed up. So I'm looking around and saying, what else could I take
Oh.
over there? Because I have a lot of supplies like for my screens and things that I like. I'll get a leftover a bronze L channel, which they're really expensive. I don't want to throw it away, but it's an extra. And over the last 15 years or so, I have a ton of just extra parts and pieces. So I'm making a rack for them so I can start moving those things over there as well. Just kind of like a supply place. It's we're usually working in Lexington. It's 30 minutes east of Lexington, away from, and it's 50 minutes from where we live. But it's kind of interesting.
Hey,
So
can I give you a suggestion?
What's that?
When you get everything stored over there, this will save you time. Take your time with your Osmo and videotape what you got, all the parts. So you could sit in your house in the morning or the night before and go, oh, yeah, I do have that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Inventory it visually.
I'm definitely inventorying it. There's a building that has the same shelves as Costco, those orange and green shelves,
Yep.
and they go all the way up 16 feet. And so we can even do pallets. There's something with forks there, and I have them here, so I can load some pallets up and just shrink wrap them. But I want to know definitely what's in there. But that that really had my head spinning. That building's 100 by 50. I measured this weekend.
wow.
100 by 50. And then there's another one that's 60 by 50 and another one that's 80 by 50. And right off the house, there's one that's, what is it, 50 by 22 with 14-foot ceilings. That was the RV garage that he built. And that would be a sweet shop. It's
Wow.
It has hot and cold water. He had it set up to where he could put his RV in there, and even the sewer can be hooked up in there, and you could basically live in there if you wanted to. But
Wow.
definitely had my brain spinning a little
Hey,
bit.
did Cam tell me that there's an area that the doors were closed and they haven't been entered because there's a lot of old tools in there?
Yes, that's the 100 by 50 building. There's a little sliding doors in the middle of it, and 50 feet by 50 is his great grandfather's shop.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool I spent a little time looking around, and it's pretty cool. There's probably 300 drawers at least, handmade wood drawers that are in his cabinets, with like pulls of different kinds. And we've went through some of it. We've pulled some things out, but there's still a lot that we'd have to look through. It's kind of like a time capsule. It's pretty cool. But
Maybe there's some really cool stuff in there.
Yeah, man.
yeah, I'm sure there is. Um, but it's how sometimes I'm sure plenty can relate to, like, if say your garage shop or whatever your shop is, you have to share your shop with some things. Sometimes people have to share it with a car,
Yep.
different ladders and things like that. It's been mind blowing to me to have a place now that I could take, that it's still safe. It's out of touch. It's not like right here, but it doesn't need to be. And it's just like so freeing, because it's like it's something I had to deal with, it being
Yeah.
almost in my workspace, and now I don't. So I'm just constantly thinking, I'm like, well, I don't need those. I don't have to have that there. I don't have to have that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's nice that, well, I had to get talked into it, but Jason and Marianne talked me into getting that shed. And you want to talk about freeing?
Yeah.
It freed up that all my gardening equipment all went in there. And I still got clutter over there. I still got to organize it, but it freed up the space that I needed for the bandsaw and for my lathe, and it was,
Yeah.
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 You never have enough room, Jason. You
No,
got the shed.
Yeah.
you don't. You don't. So that instead of just, and I guess what I was saying a second ago is, we go out sometimes and you have these grand ideas, but the things that are in the way, you just end up moving them to a different place. you know, like best
Oh,
case you
man,
could do
tell
with
me
like the
about it.
big ladder is like putting it on the ceiling. And then when you need it, you're like, oh God, I get that down,
Yeah.
and then it sucks, even though you've got it in a good spot. Oh, I know a perfect example. My metal brake. My metal brake is 12 feet long. It's on wheels. You don't want to put it up anywhere because it's so heavy. I mean, it weighs over 200 pounds. It's 12 feet long. So it's hard to do it with one person. That's a perfect example of something that I can take over there. All of my rolls, my coils, rolls of metal, all those can be stored over there because I know when I'm going to be using my metal brake. I don't have to have it close nearby. So that's a new way of thinking, and I'm kind of excited about it.
It's a good way to
Yeah.
go check on the property out there too and
It
everything.
is. It's part of the 40 acres that her brother has, like, I think 280 range that borders it. So he can see the shop buildings from his house. And he even has a little electronic thing that lets him know when somebody comes down the driveway to that one. So
Oh,
I'm
cool.
glad that it's being watched, from he's really on the hill just looking down at it. But we're going to be going out there, I'm sure, at least once a week for a long time. And we're trying to figure out right now. I think somebody, I don't know, I'm learning all about hay, and people will pay you to basically do the hay on your land.
Mhm.
And that's probably what we'll do so we don't have to mow.
Cool.
What do
That's
you mean,
always what our,
just spreading hay everywhere?
no, that means that they come in and cut and they do all of the things and make it into rolls. And the way that you normally do it is like they get two rolls and the landowner gets one. And those are sold, and you do hay like two, three times during the summer batches. And that's what her dad did the last few years. That's all he did was just hay on all the land. The nice part is it stays mowed that way too.
Hmm.
It looks nice.
You're basically renting your land for hay, and somebody comes in and does it soup to nuts and gives you
Yes.
a roll out of every three.
Yeah.
So then that individual can sell it.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, and you could sell yours too, or they'll buy that roll from you.
Yeah. Her dad
So
built
that's a
buildings
that's
for
a
that.
shit ton of work is haying.
It is. It is. It is.
Yeah.
So that her brother is helping with that right now because her dad always just sit there and people come and he would load them up with the bobcat with a little spear thing out of the buildings. And now he's doing that. So he's already, because he already had deals with people before he passed, and they're still coming and saying, I talked to your dad a month and a half ago, said I was coming. He's like, okay, well, dad's not here anymore, but I'll do it. So that's
So they do the rolls, not the bales.
rolls. Yep.
Rolls, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Rolls. And a lot
And
of
he's
them
got a
go out.
spike on a skid steer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Auto leveling spike. Cameron, every time he goes out there, that's his job to load it up. He said it auto levels. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It has a big boom arm on it.
Have
It
you
can,
ever you've used a skid steer, haven't you?
yeah, it's a JCB skid steer.
I'll tell you what though. That it took me so long to learn.
Oh yeah. There's two different ways of using them too. There's one that's like the joystick one, and the other one's like a bar,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's hard to get used to both of them.
Yeah. Boy,
You got
sun's
to
coming
block
in,
that
huh?
sun, huh?
I'm about to shut my shutter here in a second. Hold 1 second.
Did that happen all of a sudden?
Yeah. The sun just hit just right.
Yeah.
You got anything interesting going on, Sedge?
Oh God, just getting back up to speed, getting ready at work for the build off, trying to get all the ducks in a row, trying to get people to reply to emails.
When
You
is
know,
that
it's
happening?
June 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. And we're just finalizing the list, getting all the ducks in a row. But when you got to juggle 10 people scheduled to get in a meeting, it just drives me crazy. So that's work, Festool Live, all that stuff. But I've been shooting some cool video with Chris. We're going to be taking a couple weekends off here pretty quick. And we get a lot of stuff in the can. But I'm getting used to something that I bought in December. And we shot part of a video. We'll shoot that one night next week. But I'm excited to use it because it's the Ego pressure washer I got.
Hmm.
And I'm setting it up and I'm going, God damn, these guys make everything nice. So I can't wait to check out the run times. And I also bought a turbo head for it on Amazon and just getting everything up to speed. Getting out, doing yard work, mowed both lawns this weekend. And I'm going to be doing some, we did on Patreon, we did the Ask Sedge, had a great turnout, had some people are firing in ideas. And I felt like it was Festool Live again because Remember in the beginning when we do a Festival Live, we'd always have hiccups. Well, the first two Ask Sedges, we've had hiccups, and Chris at the very beginning, and both of them had been 9-minute delays, and it's just really funny. So I go, Chris, this is our last one, okay? And I really like it because we have post meetings on it, how we can make it better, and also all the input that people gave us. So what we're gonna do, I think, for the next one is LR32, the whole thing on LR32, because people were asked a lot of questions on it. Lauren was asking questions on it. Tim, bunch of people, and I was like, we should do the whole thing, and everybody's like, yeah, let's do a whole thing, and we can answer questions. But people are asking some cool questions, and it's tough if I don't have everything there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because people say, hey, I only have one LR32 rail. Can I use another one for an 8-foot pantry? And I go, yeah, you can, but you got to be careful about switching it around, doing front and back. And it's good to have two setups, but if you have one, you got to do all your fronts first and then flip it over. And as I'm explaining, I was going, you're not understanding this. And I'm having a tough time. So I'm going to try to do something like that next time. And it was a lot of fun. And I think it's kind of cool because it's a live class.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about it, you know, and Jason, you and I have often talked about it, about maybe doing a school someday or teaching someday and having something someday. And because that's fun when you can bring people in and teach them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to do it over a live feed via YouTube.
Yeah, that's a whole, that brings a whole nother level of complexity unless you're willing to spend like a lot of money on like really intricate camera setups that somebody is operating and controlling, because that's the hardest part, you know, like hooking everything up to the computer and having the right camera angles and then switching when you're talking about certain things. I'd love to do it, and I think it would be worth it in the long run.
Yep.
But man, that's a lot of, you can't do that by yourself. I mean, you can, but it would be very difficult.
Yeah. And Chris did a really good job. He almost dropped the camera once because we went, you know, mobile, but he's on the video with us. It's a lot of fun. So that's what I've been up to. Jason, what have you been up to?
Not a lot. I mean, obviously I finished almost 80% finished the kitchen project, which said you still haven't seen in person yet. We got to fix that here soon. But I've just been in a funk lately. Haven't released any videos yet this month. Haven't even recorded any videos. Just been doing a lot of thinking on like how I wanted to proceed moving forward. And I actually did a video on my Patreon today talking about how I dropped the marketing agency that was representing me. Not that anything ever came of that, but I got to a point where I haven't been enjoying all of this very much anymore. Thinking it more as a chore and a headache. And I've spent probably the last week just like really thinking about it a lot. I actually think about it quite a bit, like when I'm out on the golf course. Not my business, but why I've been feeling the way that I've been feeling. Because that's like my zen, my release is to get out there and be outside and just enjoying golf. But and it all boiled down, honestly, to this all started when I finally said, yeah, I'm going to start doing sponsored videos. And what that caused is for me to over obsess about the analytics and choosing video topics that are going to get a lot of views and playing the stupid thumbnail and title game. And because of that, when something didn't perform well, it made it 20 times worse. And I'm just not going to do it anymore. Like, I just don't care. Like, it is what it is. I want to enjoy it again. I want to make videos that help people, and if it gets 20,000 views, so be it. And I don't care if a sponsor is going to back out. That's why I've built good relationships with brands that I like. So, if, you know, as long as I'm helping them and they're helping me, then it's great. I don't need all that extra stuff on the side.
And I'll say it 1,000 times. You are a phenomenal teacher. And you need to teach people woodworking and your knowledge of woodworking. You're phenomenal.
That's what,
you're phenomenal.
That's what I want to get back to.
Dude,
Yeah.
I
love your freaking videos.
Want to do, right? Not like,
Right.
I need to do this style of video and do this and make this. I'm just so tired of it. Like it's become a cesspool and like, yeah, I'm
Well,
done. I'm over it.
it's the same as a woodworker who does all client work. It's the same situation. You
Yeah.
start realizing that you're doing everything to what they want and you're doing things you wouldn't even normally do because that's what the designer wanted. And you start not liking it.
Hmm.
You know, that's so you kind of were the same way in the YouTube world, is that you were doing what you wanted to do. You're doing videos you wanted to do without anybody having their thumb on it. And when you have people start having their thumb on it, it takes the fun out of it,
Yeah.
especially when you are right and they're telling you to do something different. You know,
Hmm.
like you know that it's better to do this first. They're like, we want you to show this first. You're like, no, that actually doesn't work as well. But that's probably
Yeah.
draining you. You know,
Oh, it
you
definitely
want
did. And
freedom.
it adds a whole other layer of complexity and time and commitment and everything else and stress because, now you have a timeline that you have to achieve and you can't do other things that you want to do. So I'm just over it. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm going to focus on the brands that I'm partnered with, and that I have a relationship with, and that's what I'm going to do. Um, if I'm being completely honest, like after I made that decision and sent that email today, I felt I felt exponentially better than I have been feeling lately. Um, and the other thing that I've been experiencing is like, am I okay with where I'm at? And like, would it be sufficient for me to just continue on that path, or do I want the growth? And that's a difficult question to answer because if you want the growth, you got to do more and you got to change things. But if you're happy with the slow, steady growth that I've been doing, then you just got to do that, right? Like if it's going to come, it's going to come. If it's not, it's not. But I certainly don't want to live or cut this thing that I love so much short just because I've turned it into something that I don't enjoy. So that stops now. Um, and then the last couple of days, it's been nice because I've actually like been out in the shop. Like I'm done with a project. Every time I finish a project, I like to go through and like, okay, what were my shortfalls on that last project? What were some things that could be better? Where were my hiccups? And then I can start making modifications to my shop and think about the things that I want to build to make it better. So I did make a couple of small changes to the shop, and I might be doing some dust collection layout changes and stuff. So that's been nice just to get out there and not have to worry about anything and do that. So, um, but yeah, that's about it.
How's your golf game?
It's going well. It's just every time I get a chance to go play, it's cold and windy and it sucks. And I am so
Welcome
over
to Indiana.
this winter, man. It just never ends. Luckily, I'm going tomorrow. And tomorrow is supposed to be like low to mid 60s, I think, lighter winds.
Yeah.
And then if I'm lucky, I'll get
God.
out one more day this week.
When I was in Maine, it just rained and rained, and I had a bunch of chores for my sister. It was, goddamn, I hate saying it was depressing, but it was depressing. And then I go down to Massachusetts to hang out with my buddy Goo. We had a great time, just chilled, but it was freaking cold and rainy. God. And then I come back to Indiana and I'm stuck in Detroit because this tornado's going through. I'm done with this winter.
Yeah, I think
I'm
I
so
think we're done.
done.
Yeah, I think we're done with it. Like looking at the forecast for like the next 10 days, looks like it's going to consistently be in the 60s and 70s. Oh, one thing I would like to mention, my truck. Did you guys see my stories the other day?
Oh, Jason, I don't want to. Oh, Jason, I felt so bad. Somebody said something to me about your truck,
What happened?
and I went to see your stories, and I was like, God, it was painful watching you.
Yeah, I don't
Painful.
we don't have that much time. I'll give the Cliff Notes version. I think I talked about it before. I've been having an issue, like my battery died. I think I talked about that, and
Did any
I
mechanics
took it
reach
in.
out to you? Did
What's
any
that?
mechanics reach out? Did anybody
Yeah,
reach out to
yeah,
you?
and unfortunately, a lot of the feedback that I got made me worried even more. But um, I tried to start my truck one morning, and it was like clicking and doing all the stuff. I took it in. They're like, "Hey, your battery needs to be replaced." Cool. They did a bunch of other services, routine services that were due. Left a few days later, it did the same thing again with a brand new battery. Took it back. They kept it overnight, started up just fine the next morning, and they basically looked at me like I was an idiot, like I left the light on or whatever. And I'm like, okay, leave. 4 or 5 days goes by, go out to my truck. Um, no, I'm sorry. Um, it had that problem. I was worried about it. So they kept it overnight. And I was like, so everything's fine. They're like, yeah, we checked everything. Everything's good. I went to Miami, parked my truck at the airport, came back. It was completely dead. Had to get it jumped, took it back to the dealership right after I got back from the airport. They had it for, man, 5 days this time. And then I went to JLC. Couldn't figure out anything wrong with it, but something is clearly drawing the power from the battery, right? They did all these tests, can't figure it out. Like they are like, we couldn't find anything. Maybe it's a faulty battery. We're going to replace the battery again. Replace the battery again. 4 or 5 days goes by. Go out to the truck one morning after I didn't drive it for like 24 hours and it was slow to start. And I'm like, here we go again. A couple days later, I had about a 24-hour period where I didn't drive it, slow to start. And then I went to the golf course on Friday, got home at about 7 p.m., didn't touch the truck again until Sunday morning at about 8:45, and battery completely dead. Not even enough power for the key fob to open the doors. No lighting on the electrical panel or the instrument panel. Nothing. Took it back again. And luckily they said that they have a Toyota engineer that's actually going to be here tomorrow. And they're going to have him take a look at it and see what they could figure out. But I dropped it off yesterday afternoon, and I got an update from the shop foreman today, and he was like, "Hey, I let it sit since you brought it in yesterday. Just went out, started it up. Voltage on the battery was 12.3." And I'm like, I don't know. So something is drawing the battery down. Something. I actually was going to call you, Ronnie, and ask you to watch my stories and see if, because I know you worked for Toyota, but
Yeah, it seems like they'd be able to tell something is drawing it down. It seems like they'd be able to trace back what it is.
yep. But a lot of the people that did write, which thank you to anybody that did send me a message. Some people had some really good insight and have shared some of that stuff with the mechanic, but they don't like that when, I'm telling the guy who's in charge of all the mechanics at Toyota here that, could it
Right.
potentially be this? I had somebody that mentioned something like this, but at the same time, he's been pretty cool. And he's like, what else can we think of? Like, have you installed anything like this on it? And has it done this before? I'm like, no, this truck has been flawless ever since I owned it. But long story short, if I'm using my truck every day, it's never going to be a problem. But that's the problem, is that I don't use my truck every single day. And I do not want to continue down this path of like something is killing my battery. And for the fact that it would drain my battery so low that it has not even enough power to turn on the lights on the instrument panel,
Huh.
it has to be something significant.
Significant.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they hooked it up all these testers, and they had this thing on it where it tested over long term, and there's no like crazy spikes. So like the things are not showing that what's doing it. And I talked to one of our patrons, one of mine, Rick, and he was telling me, he's like, pull out every single one of the fuses, and this will be a very long process. Plug one in every couple of hours, go out, test the battery. If it didn't drain anything, take that out, put it in the next one in.
That's true.
He's like, that's how you could find it, but it's a very long process in order to do that, unless they get lucky and they find it in one of the early fuses. So I don't know. All I know is that if it doesn't get fixed this time, if they can't find it, I'm going to take it somewhere else.
Well, what that Toyota engineer will probably be able to do is look up in the database for like the serv. They'll have an instance of that happening somewhere, hopefully, and there'll be like a service tech bulletin that they can look and they'll say it was this.
The
'Cause since you
problem
have
is that the second time I had it there, where they had it for like 4 or 5 days, I was told by the shop foreman, he's like, that he'd been on the phone with the engineers at Toyota on more than one occasion trying to diagnose what was going on. So it's just frustrating because it's not, part of me, thinks it's all a conspiracy, and like maybe truck sales are so bad that they're, like purposely not trying to find it. So maybe I would end up in a new vehicle, but
Think about, and I could see it in you yesterday on your stories. your frustration. Think of that may have put you in somewhat of a funk too.
Hmm.
That could be
Well,
part
this
of
is
it
it's just
too.
one thing added to how I've
Yeah.
already
Oh
been.
no,
Yeah.
Jason. I'm not going to sit here and complain about since I've been back from vacation, but I have been in a parallel universe of all the things that were happening, like with emails and phone calls and people not following up with me. And I'm like, what is going on? Did I step back somewhere where nobody gives a rat's ass about anything?
Well,
It's really weird. It's just a whole lot of, oh my God, oh my God, stuff missing. And I'm like, I won't go on. Okay, hey, that was great. Bye bye.
yeah, I hope they figure it out. Well, thank you everyone for listening. 180. I think potentially next week we might be able to have a guest on. I'll
Okay.
see if I can. I'll see if I can make that happen.
Okay.
Potentially, we shall see. Oh, and see everybody tonight on Beers with the Boys because this is going to come out Friday to patrons.
Oh, that's right. I'm really,
Yeah.
and it's beers with the boys, not bourbon with the boys. So we'll
It's
have
Beers with the Boys. Yep, for
awesome.
April. And yes, we do understand that it is in fact Good Friday. So we'll understand if you're not able to make it. However, if we wanted everybody to be on this call, this was the only week we were going to be able to do it for this month.
Yeah. And don't forget to eat fish.
Take us out.
It's Good Friday. It's Good Friday. It's Fish Friday.
I know. Now that's your cue to take us out.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.